This video is meant to show the Karmine Corp versus Vitality series from earlier, showing how Karmine Corp finally is starting to show cracks, still having won all three events, but also wanted to highlight how Karmine Corp make these adjustments and how they react to their playstyle getting countered and what that might mean going into this major number one. So starting off, we'll take a look at this is game one of the series, which Karmine Corp won. They were very dominant in the first half, but started to slow down in the second as Vitality started implementing their game plan. But starting off with Rise's point of view here from the start, Rise, generally a very aggressive player, positions himself very close as second man and likes to stay in the play a lot. Doesn't go for a ton of solo plays, but still willing to do that when he has the boost to. But in general, tries to stay very relevant to the play and does a really good job of disrupting the other team and just overall being in their way. So he's always very close to the ball. And if you look compared most, especially to other professional players, plays very close to the ball and makes very aggressive challenges, which usually tend to work out, which is why Karmine Corp have been as dangerous as they have been through this first split. But you can really see that he ends up sticking around, using a lot of small pads. He's willing to play make even when he's on low boost, and he's willing to take aggressive challenges because he knows how fast his teammates are going to be playing and how quick they can get behind him and cover anything that does happen to go wrong. So then, yeah, and here he finds the outlet on a clear here, and Vatira able to find that outplay. Rise going for that demo is being a very physical player as well. Vatira, another player that a lot of people have their eyes on as kind of a leader for this team. He has very, at least especially compared to Rise, takes very wide rotations, is also very physical, but is definitely more solo play oriented than Rise, as Rise generally tries to play around the team. Vatira very much takes these wide rotations and then uses the space that they create in order to use his, especially his aerial mechanics, in order to create opportunities for his team early in the series that will usually look like a lot of solo plays, but later in series, as teams adapt, it tends to turn into a lot of opportunities for him to be able to dish the ball off to his other two teammates as well. And then the third and, in my opinion, most undervalued part of this team is Atao, who doesn't quite get the love he deserves, but he does a very good job holding everything down as generally as an offensive third man, where Vatira and Rise will be playing these very aggressive rotations off each other. He generally is left in a lot of situations where he ends up by himself as third man back, and the ball is getting cleared. He's last back, and he's left to make something from that. Now, what does this mean for them as a team? It means that as a team, they play very fast, they play very aggressive and very physical, but also the way that they like to position, they like to have a very aggressive second man, which is usually Rise, and a very deep third man to compensate for that, which is usually a Tau. And so what ends up happening is that Rise is there to fill in any gaps, and Vatira is generally able to recover fast enough in time that when a Tau is left by himself, one of them is back in time to help him. And even if they aren't, they're physical enough that they're able to make it so that at the worst, a Tau is usually only in a one-on-one scenario, if not forcing the other team to give them a free ball. But so, that is how they play as a team. And the general threat that a lot of teams, or that a lot of people would worry about with a Tau playing this deep and Rise playing up this far, would be these fast counterattacks where maybe if this 50 is won past both of these players, a quick 2-on-1 counterattack with these two players against a Tau alone by himself. But the thing that does a good job at getting rid of that is that first man and even sometimes second man, when they get beat for Karmine, end up rotating through for demos and taking out these threats. So in this case, that might look something like this, where if this ball is 50'd past this first man, which is probably Vatira, then he would generally rotate through looking for potentially a demo onto this guy in net. And then as this guy looks to transition upfield, Rise would usually come through and look for a bump of his own, meaning that this player will generally end up one-on-one here against Atao, which Atao is a very strong defender and can easily hold his own in these 1v1 situations. But so now we get to what teams are trying to do to counter that. So this idea isn't necessarily a new one, but it is one that teams have just started implementing just even during this event, where Vitality were really the first ones to pull it off well. And that idea is that the weakness of this position is that clear if the physicality doesn't land, so that this guy is playing by himself. So him playing by himself means that if one of these players on their rotation is able to either demo him or force him to a different position where he can't quite get there in time, then they can start a lot of threats. So the idea of what Vitality tried doing is that whatever player goes first and is forcing Vatira to do something will then rotate through and look for a bump in a demo on a Tau, in order to create an opportunity where now this second man can take the ball off of Vatira here, or even if it's landing a 50 out this way and allowing a potential counterattack while no one is back, since a Tau would be dead. So looking back into the series, seeing how they did that, in game number 3 was the best showing for Vitality. And if we go to an overview here, the same kind of view we were at in the last, looking at it on the draw board, as they are playing, they generally, whenever they get into defense, will look for a demo on that wide third man. So here they're still trying to find a transition, but now as K-Corp are transitioning into offense, it's actually Rise in this case playing back as third. But now when Rise is going up to make this save, you see Alpha there chase him into the corner. So if I go back again, you can see Alpha goes first, Rise takes the ball off of him, and now Atao is making this cut in to take out Zen, so that this would only be a play against Vatira by himself, one-on-one. Vatira, a very strong defensive player, both for Moist before he came over to K-Corp, and a very effective defender for K-Corp, can easily hold his own one-on-one against what would end up being Radosin in a one-on-one. But since Vitality have made their adjustment, here comes Alpha in the corner, targeting Vatira, taking him out, and now Radosin just has an open net as long as he can get it there fast enough, and Rise unable to get there quickly after landing from that challenge. And I believe we see the same thing, if my memory serves me right, in this for goal number 2. So Vatira goes on the counterattack there, Radosin making a save. So here, good offensive pressure from K-Corp. But then, this one was a Zen solo play. But they get caught a little bit overextending because they don't have that deep third man. So that really shows how valuable that third man is for the K-Core offense, but also shows that now if you're able to take that guy out, it shows a weak point for their defense. And if I skip ahead to this last goal, I believe that it's a similar situation where now they're going onto offense, and you see Alpha again there chasing Atao on his rotation back. Now Radosin goes, and he rotates upfield looking for Rise here. So Vatira finds a demo in the midfield, but Radosin chases Rise onto the backboard, makes this awkward. That fake, both Rise and Vatira were playing for the shot, and when it doesn't come out, they are unable to get that touch. But all of that awkwardness was created by that demo attempt from Radosin in the corner. So after this game, K-Corp head into a timeout with their coach, Farah, who currently, in my opinion, is the best coach in Europe, if not the best coach in the world. And he comes up with a way to get rid of this impact. So what he does here coming out of this is he has Rise transition to a slightly more defensive playstyle. Not a ridiculous amount, but slightly more defensive, and has a Tau playing a little more aggressive. So you might be thinking, well, what does this accomplish if now he's playing aggressive? Now, as he pointed out, that deep third man was really important. But the difference now is that this slightly more passive second man allows them to have, more of a quote unquote standard rotation, where now the impact of that demo, if they are to take out this last man, is not nearly as dangerous as it would be otherwise, because this second man is actually able to recover in time and get back, versus playing the way that they were before, where this man was back here and this man was playing closer. Now this demo puts both players basically on top of each other, versus a demo from this position is not as threatening, because if this guy's taken out, this guy can still rotate behind, which is usually Rise, and he can fill that space. But it did show the cracks for a short period of time, and then, but if we go to game number 4, coming right out of the timeout, K-Corp for the rest of the series don't even drop a single game. If I go back to that fly camera, I mean, I can't skip over the first goal. It was probably the goal of the tournament here. This Zen solo play, catching it himself, taking it the full length of the field. But we can see the structure being the same. Unfortunately for K-Corp, Zen is Zen, and he just takes it himself. But if we look overall at how they're playing as they're transitioning to offense here, Rise still playing close, but now as they're getting established, right, there was the demo on a Tau, but now they're more spread out to where Rise still playing aggressively, but that third man more aggressive and that second man a little more passive. So if I skip ahead to a time where they're playing a little more offense, now we see Rise maybe not challenging that maybe he would have otherwise. Here having a good offensive opportunity and not finding it. So they are still a very fast and very aggressive team, but they're spacing out more and not playing as close, which takes away the impact of that demo that Vitality was looking for. So even there, you see Radosin chasing for it, and he forces a Tau to jump, but Vatira already back because he was not playing as close as he may have been otherwise. And now even that Alpha's shot, 2 people already back in time, Rise calling off Vatira, and able to try to start some kind of transition back onto offense. And we see this structure here as they have this set up. Rise just challenged, but Atau now looking to match Zen, and Vatira already in this defensive back here, able to play behind him off of a force. So Atau doesn't actually even go for the challenge, forces Zen to do something, and Vatira matches Radosin and allows now for a counterattack for K-Corp and allows them to potentially turn that around. So what does this mean for the major? I honestly don't think that this will change that much going forward. I don't think this is something that K-Corp need to be that worried about, but they are going to have to be careful. In Swiss, there are no timeouts, and they are going to have to make these adjustments on their own, but I think they are perfectly capable of this. I think they're going to be coming in, with a game plan. They've got a little bit of time to prepare. Matchups are already out. I believe they play Limitless first from Sub-Saharan Africa, and I don't think that will be an issue for them. And as they keep going through, I still see them going very far. But I do think that now they have started to show some cracks, and coaches are going to watch back this series, see these adjustments, and then possibly even come up with a counter for how they adjust to that. So Karmine Corp is going to have to be more flexible going forwards after being kind of exposed that their play style might not necessarily hold as well as they hope it would, considering this is how they have been so dominant in Europe. is that they don't give any space with this unrelenting pressure, and teams generally can't afford to send someone to go demo that last man, since they need all hands on deck to deal with the aggression from Vatira and Rise, and then Atau able to come in and keep applying that pressure without any risk of the counterattack because they're pinning the opponents in their back third with low boost. But now, seeing that Vitality able to take out Atau really can cause problems for Karmine Corp. I believe that we will see more teams attempting this and trying to throw them off of their game. But I still think that they are the best team, definitely the best team in Europe, and very, very easy to argue for being the best team in the world right now. I have them in my bracket. I believe that I have them making it to the top four, but I have them getting upset by Falcons, which is a bold prediction. But I think Falcons are a physical enough team that they will be able to get away with trying to take out Atau, and it'll be on Karmine Corp and really pressure on Farah to come up with something to counter it. Farah, being the coach that he is, very easily could, but that is just my prediction going into the event. But Karmine Corp still as definitely the favorites in Europe, but I would be interested to see how this affects them moving forwards.